How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Lostlikemike. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing, for commenting. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Lostlikemike. So a little housekeeping to get out of the way. Some updates. I did want to bring this by. It's my hardback book. Messy Pinky Puppy Needs a Bath. I don't know why I think it's so cool to have a hardback book, but anyway, I had mentioned last time that I wanted to bring it by, and it was probably 2 feet away, and I didn't want to invest the energy to go get it. But the paperback books you can find at Amazon or at Ingram Spark, and the hardbacks you can only find on Barnes & Noble online. Look for the Black Friday deals. Anyway, also I talked about last week about discovering, or rather bringing it to my attention, that I'm pretty convinced that I have a lot of residual hate in my heart. You know, it's a harsh thing to admit that you've got some pent-up negativity. As much as you want to believe that you're a ray of sunshine in an otherwise dark world, sometimes you have to just admit that you're human. And I had an interaction with somebody this week where they attacked. What I felt was that they were attacking my my abilities, and they were attacking me. And so like I said, we talked about this in previous episodes, where you hear a message, you're listening to somebody like a preacher, or inadvertently while watching a television program or listening to a podcast, somebody will say something or you'll witness something, and it seems to pertain just to you, where it's relevant to your current situations, and it's something that you needed to hear right then and there, right? And it's this ongoing theme that I have with this podcast, that I feel that things are connected, or that there's signs to be witnessed, or there's a connectedness between our consciousness, or our, at the very least, our society, our community, or the people that we interact with, their connections. Well, so in so many words, the pastor at the church that I go to was talking about when you're met with ridicule or with negativity, to respond to it by blessing the person, or by surprising the person with your own kindness. And damn it, I'm telling you, if I just had heard it and And then I have this interaction with this individual. Right out the window, I'm telling you. I just got defensive. I spoke harshly back. Now listen, some people it's the way that I react to bullies, okay? I don't like it. And there's not just physical bullies out there. There's psychological bullies that apply their aggressiveness to try to stifle you and to try to control you by the abrasiveness of their approach, right? So I don't know if they have something to prove or if they just want to domineer the situation. But in this particular instance, I recognize the attack. And instead of being the bigger person and excusing myself, I spoke harshly back. Not only did I speak harshly back, but I crushed them, because I don't think they were expecting it. Some people aren't used to, they think they're used to going around, strutting their authority and without any adversity. And the second that they are responded to, they just turn into a victim. And really, that's not the point of it, to say, I don't like bullies, and I don't like it when people are rude because they can be. Anyway, but as I said, I had just heard a message about, and this isn't turning the other cheek, it's just to say that it's instead of coming back at you with, I should have diffused it and said, you know what? And my apology, because I'm going to apologize, right? But I'm going to apologize because here's the thing, and it sounds really passive aggressive, but just because you come at me with, this rude, condescending attitude doesn't give me the right to lower myself to that level and conduct myself in such a way that's unbecoming. I don't know. The bottom line was, I felt that I was coming off a podcast where I talked about being a hater. I'm hearing preachers talking about recognizing when you're being defensive and meeting aggression with aggression. And what's the first thing I do is just word vomit over people, in response. It's not a good look. So I was bummed about that, a little bit bummed. And it's funny because once it comes to the forefront, once you sort of recognize something about yourself, as I did, you start to hear it, you start to see it. I don't know if people speak low or if it's just my hearing's going, but I had a couple of situations where I snapped back when, my wife's asking me a question and I don't hear it clearly, I don't think. And so I ask, for it to be repeated. But instead of it not being their fault, I get frustrated because I can't hear. And so when I finally do hear, my mind interprets it as if I've been asked multiple times, when it's really, in reality, it's just my deaf butt not hearing it the first several times. But she called me out on it and said something about snapping at her. And, in the context of the situation, I was pretty defenseless. Like, I was dead to rights. I unnecessarily was short-tempered and no excuse for it. Anyway, but this is just being honest, right? We're just coming to the table with who we really are, right? So, very interesting week in terms of that. But I mean, the first step in solving a problem, right, is recognizing it. So I understand. It's just, you don't want to be, we're better than that, y'all. We don't have to walk around being angry all the time. You have to start recognizing your triggers. Like, my kid does this. My son will be on the phone and, he's got attention deficiency. So, I mean, it's like he'll just stop listening, out of nowhere. I almost can't fault him for it. I do fault him for it, but I almost don't, because, but I'll hit a stride and I'll start really going off about some high quality advice. And I'll say something, one of those tags that you put in there to reference whether or not somebody's listening. Like, you throw in or you know what I mean? Or you understand what I'm saying? And he'll give like a, what? What's the last thing you heard? Well, you're talking about, I don't know. I mean, just tell me again, because it's like, geez, man. But he's coming to the conversation. He's wanting to talk, so I know it's not 100% his fault, right? He's got a lot on his mind. But it gets to be where you're like, if I'm talking to my wife and she's upset about something, so she's purposely not responding, and she doesn't even know that that's triggering me in another way, because feeling ignored on the phone conversations with my son or with different situations. And it's like, how do you, I don't know. It's a lot to unpack. You really can't put it in a simple conversation. It's one of those, sit with a therapist, explain it to all parties. Like, he's not feeling heard, or one of those things, right? It's just unpacking your own baggage, man. It's a lot. Another update is I didn't go to breakfast with the family. I even said, hell or high water, I'd go to breakfast by myself if everybody canceled on me. So I guess there were squabbles within the family, and they just didn't want to get together this week. They needed a week off. So I cooked at home for me and my daughter. And my daughter has some sensory issues involving food. And I made her some scrambled eggs that she thought were garbage. It's not her fault. It's just she was like, and I knew it too because I mean it doesn't matter. But when I was cooking them, we were talking about something, and it looked more like an omelet, and I had to scramble it. And she was like, these are weird, and they're not like mom's, and it's great. But yeah, I made myself a pretty killer breakfast. You know. On a side note, my brother that passed away, his birthday's coming up. And a little known fact, we did not have a funeral for my brother. They had a an event for him that I wasn't necessarily I didn't go to or wasn't invited or whatever. Who's keeping count? But anyway, I was thinking about doing a special episode around his birthday where I just talk about specifically memories about him, share stories of about him, with him, and so I hope that's going to be cool. And if just comment or email me if there's so I know some people know me that know my brother. I could talk about any stories that they want to hear about too. I mean, but I think it'd be good. It'd be therapeutic. I moved the set around, by the way. I couldn't get centered in the way that it was, so I'm trying something different. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a hoodie. You're probably not. If you're just listening to it, especially, you couldn't care less. But I have to recognize the fact that no grown man should have to wear a hoodie in their own house. It's ridiculous. My wife wants to freeze. We're going to move to some snow-filled wonderland. I don't understand it. But I was freezing and I didn't want to sit here and have my teeth chattering and throughout the podcast. So I'm wearing a hoodie in my own house. So I was at one of my shows, and there was an opening act that was performing, and this younger girl, but just a great voice, very talented, and to be honest with you, I mean, I don't have very good vision. And my attitude whenever I'm performing anywhere at any time and there's another act, whether people admit it out loud or not, in my mind, I get very not competitive, but very threatened. It's like this. I'm scarred by a couple of things. Okay. I remember this one time and this happens every now and then, you're playing a show, right? And somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can I sing a song? All my friends are here, and don't worry, I'm a professional singer, whatever." And you want to be nice. For a while, we would say no, absolutely not. I mean, not. We blame it on the club or whatever, the venue. And this is particular to cover shows, by the way. I should preface that, because this isn't like you go see an original band and all of a sudden somebody comes out, "Hey, can I sing a song?" I mean, it doesn't. Never happened with me. But anyway, but like I said, I remember this one time, a young girl came up to the stage and, "Oh, can I sing a song? And some of my friends are here." And she sang well. She was great. But her family, or her friends and family, kind of changed the energy of the rest of the show, right? Because it was that there's a certain type of people that are, I'll describe what they did and it'll make sense. So they don't want to clap as much because it's not their baby girl or whatever. And well, only baby girl should be back up there singing, and they only let her sing one song, these guys, whatever. And it was a very poor taste. And so I'm always apprehensive whenever playing with another group. And sometimes it happens, like, I don't know if it's particular to where I'm from, but sometimes there was that same phenomenon where your opening act or whatever, even with original music or the headliner, the crowd would act like, "Oh, well, we can't come off like we are enjoying your show because we can only be enjoying the people we came here to see." It's that kind of mentality. It's very small-minded, but very common. And so there's always this way of thinking that's potentially what's about to happen. And it's sometimes more frequent when it's like a female singer's, I don't mean to come off as if it's like a sexist thing. It's really not. I'm saying more so maybe even to the extent that some tone deaf men don't even care what they're hearing. They're just preferring the fact that they're watching a pretty girl do it rather than anybody else. And it's this part of their lizard brain that just thinks that there's some slim possibility that if they are all about that girl and their act, then they have a snowball chance of hooking up. Sometimes it's all about that. But that's like 50 different tangents right there in one little conversation. But anyway, we can look towards figuring that stuff out later. It's a much deeper issues going on there. But so anyway, this girl's playing, and my fear is she's way talented. She's got a great voice, and I'm gonna have my work cut out for me. I have a lot going on in my throat. I'm not singing at my best. This is gonna suck. You know what I mean? Just this real rabbit hole of just awfulness. But I couldn't shake the fact that she was wicked talented. And so I had told Vince, I said, let's take our time setting up, let her tear down her equipment, and sometimes putting a little buffer between the opening act with the and yourself kind of differentiates the two parties, right? And of course, she's super nice, right? When we go up and start moving her stuff around, and she's getting complimented left and right by all these people that are coming up and putting bread in her jar and stuff. And it's like, and all power to her. I'm happy for her and I'm happy for the situation. But it's kind of like you had to recognize it. Like you had to acknowledge it. So I said, you sounded great. Did a good job. And we got to talking. And she was a little bit older than I thought she was. But here's the thing. And I'm completely honest and sincere when I say this. I'm happy. I have my wife for it. It's all good. I have absolutely no inclination or attraction. I don't care. But what spark did go into my mind was squandered talent and what this person should be doing. They're wasting themselves, and ultimately they were going to I didn't want them to waste themselves, their talent. And so that's why I'm bringing it up currently, because of this dilemma. So I was talking about, well, do you ever have any sort of desire to present, your own expression of your own material? Like, and I said, it doesn't have to be songwriting. It could be, like Frank Sinatra, or, where you interpret other people's songs, kind of, because I mean, it's, you're playing at a restaurant bar, right? Cover songs. And you'll equally play something where your singing and talents are being valued, or, like the focus, right? You're as much have the potential of that as you have the potential of being asked to sing. Like I heard requests like DJ Khaled and like Baby Got Back. You know what I mean? It's like you want to tell these audience members, like, you're listening to this, right? She's got a great voice. She's talented. She could play things and y'all can enjoy it. And you choose to request this BS. You know what I mean? Like, it's frustrating. But anyway, I'm asking her, hey, are you ever inclined to want to express your talent, express yourself through your talent, you know what I mean? And, well, she's got to talking about not knowing any studios or producers or songwriting, people and whatever. And there's the key right there where you're saying, well, I could help you. and I wouldn't manage or um, but it's it brought to mind this question. So anyway, long story short, she said that that would be great. You know, let's get that information, right? Um, but she's like, I got to book it. So would you put your information in my phone and I'll contact you about it, right? But even in her voice, like we both kind of acknowledged that's just a weird vibe. Like I don't want to. I wanted to professionally assist this person, right? I wanted to help them, but my mind automatically goes to this young girl probably thinks I'm creeping on her. You know what I mean? And how do I come off not being cringy? Like how can I prove to her that I'm just authentically wanting to point her in the right direction and I don't have any, knowledge of this. Like, I'm barely on social media. I mean, as far as barely starting to learn any of it, what am I going to do? There's just no. Anyway, so some people that are listening to this right now, they're thinking that this is ridiculous. Like, it's just like, just relax and give your number out. It's not that big a deal, but I have a high degree of empathy, and I can feel when somebody's awkward about it, or I can feel the the complexity of that situation. Because I can just imagine how just watching in the time before I started setting up all these different guys coming up and handing money or for tips or introducing themselves or whatever. It must have seemed like here we go, but it really wasn't because I was very busy setting up my stuff. But I thought I'd share that with y'all. Maybe I overthink it, but at the same time, it's like I would rather that than to just be like so. So this is what I ended up doing. I ended up just giving my email address. I said, shoot an email to me, and I'll with your email address, and I'll send over all the contacts that I have, studios and producers and whatever. The only reason I didn't just give them at the time is because I honestly, hand to God, had to contact a friend of mine to ask what the names of the producers were. But anyway, I made a mountain out of a molehill, and I think that's me all day. Is I sometimes have a tendency of creating drama where there isn't any, or making something as benign as a conversation between two professionals into something more than what it is. Something negative, But I think it caused me to have a dream, because I had a dream last night where I was talking to a friend in the dream about singing a duet with this female. And in my dream, I was saying, oh, it would be so cool if it was, if we could do this Phil Collins song. But when I was talking about Phil Collins in my dream, it looked more like Whitesnake. I don't understand that. But I kept saying, oh, that song would be perfect. And I was singing parts of the song, and when I woke up, I was like, I don't know what song that was. It was not perfect, but so strange. Yeah, I created that drama. I mentioned that my voice is still not back. It's not. I'm able to have a few good songs. We get like, I have this thing where I keep saying it's like 3 hours and the fourth hour is garbage, but really I struggle through like 2 hours and I warm up for this forever, and it's dumb. Speaking of dumb, all right, I purchased gym equipment, right, over the the quarantine and all that sort of thing during COVID. I'd gone ahead and, because you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't go anywhere. But I have it all set up outside under this, covered porch area. And it's literally right there. It's like, open the back door and there it is. I mean, if it was even raining super hard, I would take 2 steps to be back underneath a covered patio, right? But recently I've been considering going back to the gym. Pros and cons being that there was motivation. When you're at the gym and you're watching all these other folks working out, and you know that they don't want to be there. Some of them, they're struggling, but they're getting through it. Gives a little push. Well, if they could do it, I could do it, kind of thing. Plus, they have equipment that I don't have. Plus, treadmills and steppers and all these different things for cardio, right? But there's a part of me that thinks it's ridiculous, to have all this equipment at the house and not, So, yeah, that's the ridiculous question of the week, is whether I should go back to the gym or not. Part of me wants to just prove to them I'm going to do it and work here. But inclement weather's coming, I know. Cold weather's coming, I know. And so it might just be a better idea just to go. But I was meaning to talk about that because I really just... It shouldn't be that big of a deal to have a conversation, but probably the right answer is to do a hybrid of both and work out at home and at the gym. So there we end that. All right, so what have we talked about? We said we're going to have a random topic generator online. And because I didn't want to be... What did I do? Something where I had time to think about the different things that I was going to talk about. I wanted to be off the top of my head, or as honest as possible. I must have clicked on an ad because all of a sudden I'm looking at jewelry, and I don't know how that happened. $22,000. Great. Okay, get off. Okay, generate topic. If you had to get rid of a holiday, which would you get rid of and why? Gosh, don't ask that question from a hater, because that's just going to, no matter what my answer is, the world's going to be like, get rid of Christmas. What a jerk. I'm not saying get rid of Christmas. If you had to get rid of a holiday, which would you get rid of and why? Look, I mean, I think that if I was going to get rid of a holiday, I would get rid of Valentine's Day. Because, if you are truly in a romantic situation, you love somebody or close to it, then having a particular day that you are required to express how you feel just wouldn't be necessary. You do it all the time. And I mean, it for my wife in particular, it's just another event to, and it sounds so crappy, but I'm just saying, where we don't really, it's what you have birthdays and Christmas and all these other times where it's just you're getting presents, Mother's Day, all these different things. Where I think that it's sort of, it's just expected, And then if you don't do it, then it causes problems. Who needs that, right? Why would you have a holiday that causes problems? And when you're a kid and you're in a classroom and you have a box with a hole cut in it, and then you open your box and like you don't even have like a whole lot of cards, right, or candies. So then you're all bummed out and you became a hater. Yeah, that's a crap on that one. Because look, Thanksgiving is a family-oriented, right? Same with Christmas. But Thanksgiving, you're giving thanks. If you dig deep enough, you're gonna find somebody you're gonna offend as to, well, what are you celebrating? And the Pilgrims and the Indians and the Columbus. It's, for me, it's about taking stock and drawing a line in the sand and saying, I am thankful for the following today, whatever it is. So, and I think that's a beautiful thing, right? I mean, turkey, the food, all that, that's the football, all that is just kind of for traditions but I think that having a holiday where you give thanks for the things that you're blessed with, the things that you have, or it forces you to think of things, that I think it's great. I mean, Halloween, a holiday where you dress up and get to pretend to be somebody else. I mean, I could do without it, but people like it. My daughter had a blast. We had a great time. It was my favorite holiday with my son growing up, as he grew up, because we went out, and I would take him trick-or-treating, and then we'd go out to have a meal afterwards. It was so super sad when he went out trick-or-treating with his friends instead of me. And he ended up somewhere, and he called me and he asked if I could pick him up, and we went and just had the dinner. But it was like the end of it. You know what I mean? It didn't feel good. It was sad to me. But when I took my daughter trick-or-treating, if I can find the picture, we took a photograph, but with my dog. My dog thought it was the weirdest walk I've ever taken her on because all these people were in costumes, and my dog just wanted to, I mean, just meet everybody. And but anyway, I saw this, I swear she must have been 12, 13-year-old girl walking with her dad up to a house where my daughter and I were at. And I said, life goals, man. If my daughter still thinks I'm cool enough to go trick-or-treating with at 13, I can't ask for anything more. I'd be super stoked. And Christmas is the same thing, right? So you got your family, you've got and it's this opportunity to give to other people. I mean, growing up, it was never really my family had their things going on, right? So my mom would just take money to the tree. Oh, woe is me, money on a tree, right? No, I mean, some people didn't have a tree. Some people, I get it. I'm just saying. Like now, I like the idea of giving to others. That my daughter's really good at receiving presents, right? That true appreciation, that and whether or not people believe in Santa Claus, I've always sort of had this go-to line about Santa Claus being the idea of Santa Claus is the valuable thing, right? So somebody that was just out there giving because he enjoyed the way it made him feel to give things away is very valuable. I took my son, I used to take him to hand out candy canes at my place of employment. And some of my favorite memories were, how we would get in the car after we were done, and he would be like, this just beaming, and I'd be like, see, doesn't that feel good? You see how you made people smile, and it felt good. I mean, what am I going to get rid of Arbor Day? It's just ridiculous. What's the longest plane trip you've taken? I've never flown. And shame on you. You shouldn't put that thought in my head that I had to take a long flight. Ugh. Now that indie publishing has become easier, have books gotten better or worse? Well, I just published my own book, so they've gotten better. Sorry. Look, it's the same thing, the same phenomena that goes on with music or any media right now. The fact that you're even asking a question about books and independent publishing in this day and age goes to show you that how far behind books and book writing is. I mean, the last technological advancement in terms of book writing or whatever was the Nook and the electronic, ebook, right? But the truth of the matter is that in every media, there has been the possibility of, I mean, over the last 20 years, it's become easier to self-produce whatever it is that you're doing. So, I mean, the Island Boys could put out a new single, as well as Tool could put out a new album. And that's the reality of the world that we're living in right now. You have movies, if you ever, go on to, there's numerous channels, platforms to produce, to promote, to distribute movies. And I've clicked on so many that have like 20 distributors at the beginning, where it used to be just TriStar or Paramount or whatever it was. I don't even know names anymore. And in the first 5 minutes, just know that it's garbage. So in every media, you're going to find that. Books are no different. Just because I can copy a format and put out a book doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it good. But are they better or worse? I mean, I just think you're accessible. We have access to far more. And there's far fewer gatekeepers. So, the quality will find its way, I think. Especially, now more than ever, they have opportunities to, get out there and be seen by the world, so the potential is there for both better and worse. This is fun. We should do this more often. I think I got time for one more, and then we'll call it a day. What did I do wrong? What's this actress's name that's on this ad? Oops, stupid. No, I'm not answering that. Does having a day off for a holiday increase or decrease work productivity? Come on, son. When was the last time you went to a movie theater? Wow, that's a loaded question. I used to work at a movie theater. 22 years I was at a movie theater. I loved movies. But when was the last time I went to see a movie? Cheese and crackers. I went to go see a movie. Jurassic Park, the new one. My wife's a big Jurassic Park fan, and really it was important to her to go, so we went. As a matter of fact, I went to one of the theaters I used to work at, and I bear no grudges. I have no ill will towards them. I love everybody. Okay, so it's not even about that. It was just more like I hadn't been to one in a while, because you go see movies for free. What are you gonna do? You in that habit of not having to pay for it, and the first time you pay for it's a bit of a shift in mental, putting that money down without the employee discount hurts a little bit. Just be honest. Whatever. But yeah, the movie was okay. It wasn't great. It was, but if you're asking, I haven't been inclined to go see a movie recently. Because I think that if it's like, a Top Gun Maverick, where it's like this, the visuals and the sound and everything's something that would be a true experience in an auditorium in a movie theater setting, then by all means you should go. But I've never been the type to enjoy watching movies with other folks. I remember I went to go see this one screening of a comedy. I might have talked about this on the podcast before. This is episode 17, so it's been several. But anyway, it was a comedy. And this kid, this projectionist, because we used to have to screen them, because when, you build them or whatever, you had to screen them. Oh my God. He had this great laugh, and he was laughing so hard from like the jump, like from the movie just started. And he was like giggling, and the movie was funny, but it wasn't, it was funny, but not like fall down laughing, but like 15 minutes into the movie and both of us are crying, laughing. And it was so much more enjoyable watching it with somebody who was enjoying it like that. So there's an argument to be made that sometimes it could be enjoyable. But, hell, I don't even like sometimes watching movies with my wife. Like, I remember, like, God forbid we watch a sad movie. I don't know what it was. And then obviously, I'm feeling the effects. I'm catching those emotions from the movie. And then, like, from the side of me, I hear, "Are you crying?" And I was broke right out of it. I was fine. No emotion. And God bless her. She wasn't trying to be rude or whatever. She just wanted to be like, I don't know, see behind the wall. In fact, I don't know, to know that I was a sensitive human being or something, but no, honey, I'm not crying. And then I wiped tears away. Anyway, sometimes it could be cool. Like if you're watching, I remember watching Rocky, one of the Rockies, maybe Rocky 3, because my dad used to take us to watch movies. My dad was the type of movie watcher where he would yell things at the screen. He would, hit him again, And he would bark. My dad was a barker. So if, like, Rocky would knock down, the Russian fighter, and then my dad would bark. I don't know. Sura, hit him again. Or he'd do a grito or something, I don't know. At the time, I thought it was really embarrassing, but, I'd kill to watch another movie with him and let him make all the noises he would want. But it was kind of enjoyable when the theater was packed and then everybody would clap at the end of the movie. Those 80s movies, there were so many where that would happen, where everybody would be just like knowing that they're watching something like an Indiana Jones movie or Return of the Jedi, or like just a bunch of these Back to the Future movies and all these different movies were Karate Kid movies. And you were just like, you knew that you were like watching just great movies and cultural, like these big phenomena. Like you just were part of something big. But I love movies. Always have. I used to go watch movies by myself. I was working at a hotel and I would cross the highway and watch discount movies long before I worked at a theater. I miss that. I wouldn't even care what I'd watch. I just loved the experience. Anyway, that's fun. We're going to have to do that again. I like those generator and whatnots. Subscribe and like and tell a friend, whatever. Send ideas, topics that you want me to talk about. And thank you for hanging out with me. I will see y'all next week. Take care.